All right. So I wanted to make a quick little video for FC, specifically those that are using, the PS4 and a PS4 controller. And then I also had a couple other questions about Dragoons and, their stats, rotation, how do I set my skills up, etc. And so to start, I thought I would go into the control settings and how I have that set up. So when I go over the controls, to have them laid out the way I have them laid out and have them work the way I do, you need to go to character configuration, go down to your hotbar settings, scroll over to cross, and keep everything here checked the way I have it. So on your cross hotbar controls, choose hold, and then you're going to want to choose this for the cross hotbar display type. You're going to want to choose this first one here, and you'll see why. So we can see right now I have kind of my main skills over here in the middle, and then off to the right I've set up some other skills as well. And these are skills that you'll notice you don't see here, and they're skills that you'd probably want to see a cooldown on so that you could activate them again. And you'll also see those if I were to click, for instance, L2 plus R2, you'd see on the far right there my Dragon Fire Dive, you'd see my Dragon Sight, etc. But how do I get those skills? So right now if I click R1 and triangle, that's where my skills are. This is that main hub again for my skills. However, if I click R1 and 8, you'll see these two other sets of skills here. And this is important because that's where you want to set up these other skills. So you can see on the right hand side, this is where I have some more of my offensive attacks. You can see that these are some of my offensive abilities, like my Blood of the Dragon, Blood for Blood, Battle Litany, Dragon Sight. And then on the left hand side here, you'll see that these are some of my, supporting skills. So like Second Wind for curing yourself, Bloodbath, I have my Limit Break, my potions, Elusive Jump, and Diversion. So now, when I have those skills there, it becomes really easy for me to get to those skills. So, and all I have to do is, for instance, if I wanted to get to those offensive abilities or attacks, I click R2, hold it down, and then hit L2. And you can see I have access to all those skills that were on the right-hand side. Now, if I want access to the skills that were on the left-hand side, or some of my supporting skills, I click L2 first, then R2. And then I get to those skills or those items, whatever's there. And I found that to be really helpful for me, as I was, especially in 3.0 where we had so many skills, there just wasn't any place to put them. And so this became an easy way for me to get to those skills when I needed them. Now, another thing that'll be probably helpful for you guys is to look at macros. Specifically one, if you're on PS4, the Dragon Sight macro, and you can see I've played around with this a lot. And for me, there's basically two main macros that I use, and I found that they are the best for me in my uses. The first one here, and it's also the one that I'm going to show you in the demonstration, is for my Chocobo. So this attaches to him. And then my second option here is for any of my 8-man content. So any of your 8-man raids, any of the primals, anything like that. So if you're going into trial, going into savage content, this is a great one. And you'll notice that it attaches to either in a specific order. So we can see here it goes 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. And there's a reason for that. So when you're on a computer and you have a mouse, it's pretty easy for you to choose who you want this to go to. But on PS4, it's a lot more difficult. So when I jump into any 8-man content, anytime you jump into 8-man content, you're always going to be number 1. And your 2 tanks and your 2 healers are going to take up spots 2 through 5. Which means with this macro, the first person that it's going to is number 6, which would be your first DPS. And then, but let's say he's dead. Instead of going to him, it's going to go to number 7, which would be your next DPS. And then number 8, and then 2, then 3, then 4, etc. And so this is, I found to be a great option. Some of the other Dragon Sight macros will take you off the target, which I don't like because then you lose some of your auto attacks as well. So this has been a great option for me. A couple other things. So as far as food goes, at least right now, and right now we're in 4.2. My favorite food when I'm doing high-end content like the Savage Raids or the Extreme Primals, definitely the Crimson Cider. I like the increase to critical hit, the extra vitality boost, and the direct hit rate. And then as far as potions go, right now I'm using the grade 2 infusion of strength. I like these because they last 30 seconds. This high quality one is strength plus 10%. I think the normal quality is plus 8%. So if you can't afford these, I mean, obviously you don't need to buy the high quality ones. If you can't afford them, just buy the normal quality and those will be fine. Or something cheaper than Crimson Cider. You know, anything that'll at least give you somewhat of a boost, and that is a at least comparable item level. And then as far as stats go for your character, for Dragoon, you really want to, you know, outside of your core stats like strength, vitality, your secondary stats like crit hit, determination, direct hit rate, you're going to want to set those up in a specific way. So for me, my critical hit should be number 1, direct hit rate should be number 2, followed by determination. And then your skill speed, again, at least in 4.2 and what I found to be the best, is somewhere between about 950 and about 990 or 1000 tends to be a good skill speed, so you're not really clipping your GCDs or anything like that. Alright, so let's get on this striking dummy here, and we'll I'll summon my Chocobo and we'll go through that, and you guys will be able to see the rotation that I use. So I'm not going to call up every single skill, but hopefully you can watch this, you'll be able to see what skills I'm clicking on. And speaking of skills, one thing that's probably helpful for you too is to know what role actions I use. So these are the 5 role actions I use. Diversion is a great one for, this is a skill that I'll use first thing in a lot of battles, especially if I'm in like Savage content on a boss. I'll continue to use it throughout the fight. And this makes your tank's job a lot easier, so that he can hold on aggro a lot easier, and you know, you don't have to worry about pulling that away from the tank. So that's a great skill to use to start off. Second Wind for healing yourself, Bloodbath for healing yourself. True North is also a great skill. There's a lot of battles where you can't always get to the right positional to do the max potency. So with Dragoon and with many other classes, some skills you need to be in the right position so that you can do max potency. So in those situations where you can't be in the right position, using True North is a great skill so that you can do the exact same potency as if you were in that positional, even though you're not. And then Arm's Length, also a great skill. This one's really good in a lot of the battles in Stormblood that I found, because some of the trials, some of the Savage Raid content, there's a lot of knockback skills, and this prevents those knockbacks, and that's important because that allows you to keep your uptime on the boss, and you can continue attacking as if nothing's changed. Alright, so let's summon the Chocobo. And so that he's not attacking the dummy, I want to make sure that he's set to follow. And we'll get started. So these are the Stone, Sky, Sea battles. I believe they were introduced in Heaven's Word. Ultimately, as you unlock content, you can choose specific battles and see where you're at DPS wise. You know, do I do enough DPS to clear this content? So I'm going to do the Kefka fight, V4 Savage. Go from there. So I'm going to show you the main rotation that I use just in general, and then I'll talk about the other rotation that I use if I'm using a potion or something. So let's pop a food. All right. Always want to try to be in your positionals. So I want to make sure I'm on the flank there, in the rear for wheeling thrust. Of course on the flank for my heavy thrust. chaos thrust you're going to want in the rear as well. And you're going to see most of the times my skills lined up really well as far as, you know, being ready to use in the right specific order. So we'll see my jumps line up really well here. Minus strong line up really well again. And we see all three jumps line up perfectly there. Alright, so not too shabby. A lot of times that'll depend on your RNG and when you're getting your crits, etc. So not too bad. Now the only thing that I would change with that rotation, again, if I'm depending on the content that I'm doing, is number one, I'd probably click diversion first, just to make sure that I'm, you know, the tank, he has an easier time holding that aggro. And then the other thing that I would do is I would switch where I use blood for blood and dragon sight. So in that rotation I did heavy thrust, impulse drive, disembowel, and then I did my dragon sight blood for blood combo. Now if I was with a real good group, a pug group, and I was actually going to use a potion, you know, on what I thought was going to be a clear, what I would do instead is heavy thrust, impulse drive, then I would use my blood for blood dragon sight combo, disembowel, hit my potion, so that I make sure that I get it right on chaos thrust there. And that's the only difference that I would do. So that's, I mean, that's really it as far as the rotation. I hope that's helpful. Again, I know I didn't list off every single skill. If people in the FC find that to be helpful, I could write it out or something, or put it in the comments of this video. But I appreciate you guys watching it. If you know, I hope that you find it helpful, and if you guys think that other videos like this might be helpful, I'll look into creating other ones in the future. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.